Welcome once again to the MCDFNL Footy Show. Back at home quarters this week, back at Saxon House. Not required out on the road this week, Sammy, which was a good thing. Sean Kelly's my name. Joining me once again, as he will every week throughout season 2013, Sam Gowers. Very good afternoon to you, Sammy.
Thank you, Sean. Good to be here.
And a little bit of grief about your footy tips this week, mate, but we'll get to that throughout the course of the show.
We will.
We will indeed. And also joining us this week is the coach of the Lexton Football Netball Club. He's been in pretty good form himself as well on a playing front this year. Paul Phillips. Paul, welcome to the Footy Show.
Howdy guys, how are we?
Very well indeed, mate. Thanks for joining us this week.
No worries.
We'll touch on some of your boys' fine work at the moment because you guys have started 2-zip and you're looking pretty good.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the results from round 2 of MCDFNL action. We'll start with Newstead taking on Trentham, and there's a big win for Newstead, 23-12, 150, defeating Trentham 5-4-34. Daniel Christmas, 11 goals for Newstead. He's had a big couple of weeks in his first time in Roos colours. Thomas Rees kicked 4, 2 each to Ramsey and Wall for Newstead. Bruton and Hoffman, the two multiples for Trentham. Christmas, Kerr and Ford, the best for Newstead, and Bruton, Wicker and Can, the better players for Trentham. Royal Park taking on Avoca. This game, of course, moved to Hedges Oval. Didn't make too much of a difference because Avoca were on song. 20 goals, 9, 129, defeating Bushy 6, 12, 48. Murray Bond, another 6 goals last week. Sammy takes him to 13 for the season. Adrian Pilgrim, 4 goals as well, floating down, 3 of those in the last quarter. 2 goals each to Barker, Edwards and Beavis. For Royal Park, just the one multiple. Zach Stewart kicked 3 goals again last week. Best for Avoca, Lockie Edwards, Murray Bond and Nick Barker. For Royal Park, Dylan McLean, Jib Iglesias and Ben Clay were Bushy's best players. Good to see Nick Barker amongst it in his 150th game as well. Congratulations, Nick. Talbot taking on Maryborough Rovers, and Talbot have started the season beautifully. They got the win in this one, 8 goals, 12-60 to 4, 13, 37. Nathan Smith kicked 3 goals for the Hawks, Trent Barris kicked 2, and the Rovers all single goal kickers on the weekend. Best players for Talbot, Prentice, Smith and Mortimer. For the Rovers, Ryan, Towers and Styles. Scotty Sellers amongst the best players as well, Sammy, but went down with a knee in the last quarter as well, which isn't going to help Rovers at all in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I think he ended up in hospital Saturday night, actually. A bit of a head knock as well, so question marks over this week.
Yes, so do we know how bad the knee was?
No.
Okay. Interesting times ahead. Interesting times also ahead for Campbell's Creek. We spoke they might be a chance on this show last week, Sammy, before we knew Joel Smith was out of the side, and unfortunately that so left Campbell's Creek scoring power. Navarre 26-15, 171, defeating Creek 3-4-22. Chris Brennan kicked 7 for the Hoppers. Zane Bigmore kicked 5, 3 goals to Ben Scott and 2 each to Parry, Parkin and Ash Driscoll. Campbell's Creek, Chris Stone kicked 2 goals, was the only multiple goal kicker for them. Best for Navarre, Baker, Tickner and Benham, and for Creek it was Climac, Keeler Reid and Josh Adamson. Harcourt taking on Carisbrook. Pretty good game this one, especially in the first half. Harcourt took it up to Brook, but I suppose they showed their class in the end, running out pretty comprehensive winners. 20-17, 137 to Harcourt 12, 981. Matty Bilton, 5 goals for Carisbrook, 3 goals each to Wright, Tracy and Lloyd, and 2 goals to Trav Cornwell. 4 goals to Adrian Hicks for Harcourt, 2 to McLean and 2 to Smith were the Lions' multiple goal kickers. Matty Bilton, best on ground for Carisbrook, probably not too much of a surprise there. Also Wright and Jennings were amongst their better players. Harcourt's best players, Williams, Mitchell and Purden. Natty Bialaba taking on Denali. Sammy, Natty getting the victory, 7-13-55, their first for the season, defeating Denali 4-4-28. Douglas and Fitzgerald, 2 goals each for Natty, and Tony Ballinger, Denali's coach, kicking 2 for the Eagles. Perez, Gifford and Dean Gracco were the best players for Natty. Denali is best, Gibbs, Ballinger and Thompson. Mate, you're at this game. Give us a quick summary of how Natty got the job done here.
Very, very scrappy game. Not great to watch, but just good to see the Swannies get a win.
Yes, always good to see teams get their first win on the board for the year. We'll go to Sunday, Paul, in the game, of course, that you were involved in. Lexton 10-15-75, defeating Malden 7-6-48. Didn't kick a goal in the last quarter, but had enough of that break at three-quarter time to get the chocolates, mate. 5 goals to Matty Brown, just keeps on keeping on in the forward line, and 3 goals to Daniel Chester. For Malden, their multiple goal kicker, Lee Harrison, with 3 goals. Best players for the Tigers, Oliver, Aspland and Hind, and of course Paul Phillips squeezes himself in there as well. Well done, mate. For Malden, Tommy Horn, Hayden Kelly and Nicholas McKnight, the best players. Pretty good start to the season now, mate. That's 2 wins from 2 tries. It's looking pretty good down at
Yeah,
Lexington.
definitely, mate. It was a little bit disappointing on Sunday. We couldn't quite run the game out, but obviously, as you said, we had enough on the board at 3/4 time. Luckily enough to to secure the win. So a little bit disappointed that we ran out of legs, but to go over to Malden's a very big challenge, and to come away with 4 points was just great. So
4 goals, 7 in the first quarter, mate. 11 scoring shots. Probably could have really blown the game away in the first quarter if you wanted.
Realistically, a few of those shots are probably quite easy, so we probably should have been 6-3 or 6-4, or something like that. So, but it's only early on in the season, and hopefully the boys can start kicking straight. Maybe a bit of goal kicking.
Exactly, mate. It's the best thing about it. You have a couple of these days where you're not quite on, but you still get 4 points out of it.
Definitely.
You turn 2-0 at the start of the year. Obviously, 4 points is 4 points no matter when it is,
definitely.
but just getting these early ones under the belt really helps.
Yeah, correct.
As Sean said, 2-0. Paul, you must think this coaching game's pretty easy, mate.
No,
Good
not
start.
at all. Not at all, mate. No. Look, we've done a fair bit of hard work in the pre-season just to get the boys to gel together. And that's coming along fantastic at the moment. So hopefully we can keep that up for the rest of the year.
Yep. A couple of big outs in the pre-season as well. Obviously, blokes like Dan Chester have come in and covered that all right.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Dan Chester, Bobby Hind. So I think obviously you can't replace quality, but if you can gel blokes together, then it makes it a lot easier.
And you've obviously done a good job of that.
Oh yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Now, mate, your own form at the moment in pretty good nick. We've seen the best players a couple of times, and also selected in the MCDFNL's interleague squad, of course, taking on the Piccola League on the 25th of May this year. The side's up on the screen at the moment. Let's have a bit of a look through it from Avoca. We've got Bo Ketchen, Lockie Edwards and Sean Orr. Campbell's Creek, Joel Smith and Ryan Hughes. Carisbrook pretty well represented. Ryan Hudson-Morgan, Nathan Wright, Luke Tracy, Ben Kick, Jackson Bowen, Matthew Bilton and Patrick Jennis. 2 from Tenolli, Jamie Townsend and Joe Thompson. From Harcourt, Paul Chaplin, Alex Purden, Chris Davis, Landon McNamara and Matthew Geary. Quite a turnout from Lexington as well, mate. Yourself, James Templeton, Damon Asplin, Jordan Phelan, Matthew Brown and Michael Jennings. 2 from Malden, Kyle Winstanley and Hayden Kelly. Scotty Sellers, the Maryborough Rovers representative. Stephen Ross, Mark Fitzgerald and Matthew Stagg from Natty Bialaba. Jaden Folks, Daniel Redding, Bryce Tickner, Ben Scott, Luke Hendy and Daniel Parkin from Navarre. Mark Ramsey, Daniel Christmas, Adrian Conn, Nathan Webster, Jonty Entwistle, Sam Kerr and Ethan Ford from Newstead. Trent Pine, Jared O'Connor from Royal Park, Brandon McRedmond and Matthew Smith from Talbot. Clayton Scoble from Trentham. Sounds like a pretty good squad to me, mate.
Yeah, definitely.
So training starts this week, this Wednesday night.
Yeah, over in Maryborough.
And you're also one of the assistant coaches of the side as well. Of course,
Yeah,
Wayne
correct.
Driscoll coaching the side, but he's got 5 or 6 assistants and a lot of coaches that are coaching within the league at the moment. Benny Kick, Luke Tracy, Daniel Park and yourself that are all helping out.
Yeah, Clayton Scoble's going to help out as well.
Yep.
And
It's going to be very interesting in the next couple of weeks as we see the interleague squad come together. Can't wait to see them run out onto the Tatura Showgrounds on the 25th of May. I'll tell you about that, Sammy. We'll also see some netball on the day, of course, though. So let's have a look at netball this week. Unfortunately, we haven't got the expertise that we had last week. But let's have a look at how we go about all things netball in the MCDFNL for this week.
I'm sure we'll do a great job.
Welcome back to the MCDFNL Footy Show. Sammy, time to talk netball, mate. Let's have a look at the netball scores from round 2 of MCDFNL action this weekend. We'll start out at Trentham, where the Saints hosted Newstead. It was a big win to the Steaders, mate. 81-11 in the favour of Newstead. Kneebone with 43 goals. Coach Amanda Guthrie with 22 were the highlights for Newstead. Pretty close game between Avoca and Royal Park out at Hedges Oval. Avoca 54 defeating Royal Park 30. Cole Drummond 40 goals for Avoca. It's pretty much a stock standard, mate. You can bank on that just about every week.
Yeah, she doesn't slow down, does she?
Does not slow down at all. Maryborough Rovers, a big win for them on the weekend. They defeated Talbot 67-25. Steed, White and Pearce, the best players for Rovers on the weekend. They're 2 from 3 now. They're looking pretty good, Rovers, and it all started, of course, when they came on the MCDFNL Footy Show.
Absolutely. Luck rubbed off.
We'll take all the credit for that one, don't you worry about that. Navarre 93 defeating Campbell's Creek 4 over the weekend. The Twin Towers, Taylor Mason and Jess Parry 50 and 43 goals respectively for the Hoppers. Harcourt versus Carisbrook. We thought this one would come down to the wire. You heard Katie Lovell and Dave Clawson say that this one would be a very close game last week, and it ended up that way. Carisbrook 37, defeating Harcourt 33. Really close game. Nothing in it at the breaks, as you can see. Carisbrook led by 5 at half time. Carisbrook by 2 at three-quarter time. Natty Bialaba 30, defeating Denali 23. Didn't quite rub off there for the Denali crew, but
No.
they had a dip. They weren't far away. 18 goals to Prue Douglas and 12 to Martin for Natty. Ash Edwards amongst their best players, the coach, mate.
Leading from the front, Ash.
Very good
First
to
year
see.
as coach.
Very good to see. And in the last game, of course, the game played yesterday. Another really, really close game. The second in a row for Lexington on the netball front. Malden 35, defeating Lexington 34. McKnight 21, and Avalon Crum 14 goals for Malden. Rach Phelan with 20 and Lisa Donhart 14 goals for Lexington. Interesting, good to see the best for Lexington this week. Julie Anderson, one of our players that was a 17 and under player in the Regional State League. So really good to see the youth coming up.
Another good young player from Malden as well, Beck McKnight with 21 goals.
Yeah, very good youth coming up throughout the league. Good look at the netball segment this week. Bit shorter than last week, mate. We don't quite have the expertise that we've had on in recent weeks with Dave Clawson and Katie Lovell, of course, absolutely ripping it to shreds last week. So thought we'd get through it, talk about what we know, and just obviously give some love to where we know that love needs to go.
Yeah, that's why it's short. We don't know too much at all.
Except for when I just wobble on then and take off about 40 seconds worth of time.
Yep.
Let's come back and have a look at the preview of a big round 3 in the football ranks of the MCDFNL. We'll bring Lexington coach Paul Phillips back into the panel to have a look at this one with us. It's a netball segment done and dusted here on the MCDFNL Footy Show. I reckon we went alright, Sammy.
Yeah, not too bad.
Held our own there. Not as I said, not as good as the last week, but covered it off okay.
Yeah, we're showing some promise, I think.
Showing some promise. We're just hitting our stride as netball
Yes.
comes along. Let's take a look at round 3 of action in the MCDFNL this weekend. Talbot taking on Harcourt, Carisbrook taking on Denali, Newstead at home against Natty Bialaba, Campbell's Creek hosting Malden, Lexington at home against Trentham Paul, Avoca taking on Navarre, and Royal Park up against Maryborough Rovers. Your tips, please, Sam. It's probably the most anticipated segment every week on this footy show, of course. Talbot taking on Harcourt. Which way are you leaning, please?
Going to go with Harcourt this week.
Why?
I think they've had a better start to the year. Talbot's been very impressive, but I think Harcourt's probably just got the edge.
Carisbrook taking on Denali. Paul, I'll throw this one to you, mate. Obviously, Carisbrook, last year's premiers, have started the season in ripping form as well. Denali haven't quite hit their stride yet.
Yeah, I think Carisbrook will be comfortable here, so yeah.
Newstead taking on Natty Bialaba. Now, here's one for you, mate. Do you go with Newstead, who are on top of the ladder and absolutely roaring at the moment, or do you go with the heart and go with Natty Bialaba?
I'll get lynched at training if I go for Newstead, so Natty it is.
Natty it is. Good work. He's going down one of the tips there, unfortunately. I reckon Newstead will do this quite easily.
Yeah, I think so too.
Campbell's Creek taking on Malden. This is going to be a really interesting game because we know Campbell's Creek had a bit of a letdown last week. They're a different side at home than what they are on the road, though.
Yeah, look, obviously I haven't seen Campbell's Creek in action so far this year, and obviously I had a taste of Malden last week, so I think Malden are a competitive side, so I think they'll get up.
Sammy?
Yeah, Malden as well.
Malden, beautiful work. Lexington taking on Trentham. We'll get your tip for this one, Sam. We probably know which way Paul's going to go, but we'll see which way you're going to go first.
Yeah, pretty hard to tip against the Tigers. Outstanding start to the year. Trentham, not so much.
Why are you going to beat Trentham this week, mate?
Oh, look, unfortunately, as we know, that Trentham's lost a lot of quality, so I think they're going to be in a rebuilding phase over the next 12 to 24 months. So, I think, look, we're travelling quite nicely at the moment, so we'll get the job done, yeah.
Matty Brown, how many?
7.
If he can kick straight.
10.
Look for double figures this week. There's me tip.
If he
What
can
do you
kick
reckon?
straight.
If you can kick straight. Hopefully, after that 4-goal-7 in the first quarter, hopefully you've worked on the accuracy during the week, mate. Sunday's games this week, Avoca taking on Navarre. This game originally supposed to be at Navoka. It will actually be at Navarre now. Two teams are travelling pretty well, but the change of ground, I reckon, tips it in Navarre's favour, who are travelling beautifully.
Yeah, I'm going with the Grasshoppers as well.
Yeah, Navarre for me.
And Royal Park taking on the Maryborough Rovers. Two teams that, I suppose, Bushy had a bit of a letdown last week. Rovers were okay against Talbot, but just haven't shown that form. It's probably going to be a pretty close one, to be honest with you.
Massive grudge match as well. I know
Yes.
Royal Park is out to prove that they're on top of Rovers this year.
They told us that last week. This is
Yeah.
a game they definitely want to win.
Yeah, this is the one. Rovers will be pretty keen to get a win here as well. So I don't know which way this
Get
will
off
go.
the fence, come on.
No.
No,
Call it. Can't
staying
call
on the fence. Paul, help us
it.
out.
Dead heat.
Look, if Scotty Sellers is no good and he doesn't come up, I'm going to go for Royal Park.
I reckon that way too, and obviously that's the if Scotty Sellers isn't there, it does tip the match very heavily in Royal Park's favour. Excuse me, Paul, thanks for joining us, mate. It's been a breath of fresh air having you in here and a bit of expert opinion, so
Thanks for having me in, guys.
best of luck for this weekend, mate, against Trentham, and obviously best of luck for the season and for the Interleague campaign as well.
No worries, thank you.
Sammy, you'll be back next week, mate. We
I will.
anticipate to see how your tips have gone. Of course, if you missed them, they're in the MCDFNL Advocate, so grab a copy when you walk through the gate. Not only will you get to read Sammy's previews and reviews, but you get all his tips in black and white there, so you'll be able to hang it on him if he does get it wrong at the game. So, mate,
Perfect score this week, I reckon.
perfect score.
Perfect score.
There you go. You tipped that. We'll check that next week. We'll see you next week as well on the MCDFNL Footy Show. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully we've entertained you for yet another week, and we'll see you next Thursday.